Hey, everyone, after a stretch of mostly quiet weather, things are about to take a major turn. We've got a massive storm system developing right now, and it's going to affect millions, actually tens of millions of people across the United States. And this storm, it's going to kick off a really active and potentially dangerous pattern as we head into March. There's so much going on with this system, not just the immediate impacts, but the longer term setup for more storms to follow. So we're going to break it all down. We'll talk about what's coming, the broader impacts, and what the rest of March might look like. But first, let's start with the very latest updates from the Storm Prediction Center, because there's already a lot to keep an eye on. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. One of the most dangerous parts of this upcoming storm is definitely going to be the severe weather threat. And when I say severe, I mean severe. We're already seeing something pretty rare. There's a day 530 risk for severe weather down in the deep south and stretching into the mid-Mississippi River Valley. That includes cities like Memphis, Little Rock, and parts of northern Louisiana. Now, if you follow these outlooks, you know that seeing a 30 risk this far out is not something that happens often. In fact, yesterday, this was a day 630 risk area. And for it to maintain that level of concern as we get closer is a strong signal that this is going to be a high-end event. And that risk isn't going anywhere. It looks like this will continue to be a very serious situation as we get into the day one outlook early next week. But that's not all. As we look ahead to Wednesday, March 5, the severe weather risk expands even more. We're talking about nearly 30 million people under a 15 probability of seeing severe storms, stretching from the Florida panhandle all the way up into southern New Jersey. That's a huge area. And when you're seeing this level of concern this far out, it's a pretty big deal. It tells us the models are picking up on a consistent and dangerous signal for widespread severe weather. So naturally, the question is, what's going on here? Why is the storm shaping up to be so dangerous? Well, one of the big reasons is the wind profile. Every time we get new model data, the situation just looks more concerning. The numbers keep trending upward, and the setup is getting more and more ominous. We've been talking a lot about wind shear and the low-level jet stream. And the data we're seeing now shows winds around 70 to 80 knots, just a few thousand feet above the ground. That's intense. Those winds are going to stretch from Louisiana up through the Mississippi River Valley and into the Bootheel, Missouri. And when you combine winds like that with a surge of Gulf moisture, you've got a recipe for some really dangerous storm. And it's not just the amount of moisture that's concerning. It's the incredible contrast between the moist air and the very dry air coming in behind the cold front. We're going to see relatively high dew points in the 60s and even some 70s down south, while the northern part of the severe weather zone may only see upper 50s. But it's not about how deep the moisture is. It's about how sharply it contrasts with the dry air pushing in from Texas and New Mexico. That clash is what fuels severe weather. And in this case, it's setting the stage for some really powerful storms. We're talking about supercells capable of producing strong, long-track tornadoes. And as the system pushes east, the threat's going to continue into states like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. It could even reach parts of Maryland, Delaware, and southern New Jersey by Wednesday. As we move into Wednesday, I think the main threats will shift toward damaging winds and large hail, but that tornado risk is still going to be there. And while it's too early to get into specifics just yet, the fact that we're seeing this much confidence in a forecast this far out is rare. Usually I tell people not to get too caught up in forecasts beyond 4 days because things can change a lot, but this is different. The models are showing such a consistent and strong signal that some kind of major severe weather outbreak is almost inevitable. We'll fine-tune the details as we get closer and start getting more high-resolution data. But right now, it's clear that this storm is going to be a big one. Now, even if you're not in the severe weather zone, this storm is still going to have a huge impact. In fact, it's already getting started. Today, we've got a clipper system moving through southern Ontario into southwestern Quebec, and it's going to drop a pretty hefty amount of snow, especially north of the Great Lakes. It's moving fast, and we could see some intermittent blizzard conditions because of the strong winds and cold air being pulled into the northeast. This is going to bring temperatures back down to near or below average in the Ohio Valley and the northeast as we head into the weekend. But unlike some of the brutal Arctic blasts we've seen this winter, this one won't be quite as intense, just a return to more seasonable cold. Meanwhile, out west, things are warming up, and that's where the storm system really starts to build its strength. As it moves toward the west coast, it's going to bring rain, snow, and some gusty winds. Arizona and Utah could see some strong wind gusts and snow at higher elevations, but the real trouble starts once the system crosses the Rockies and hits the Great Plains. That's when the severe weather threat really ramps up. On the backside of the storm, we're looking at some incredibly strong winds. We could see gusts of 40, 50, even 60 M. And that's not even in the thunderstorms. And let's not forget about the snow. Colorado, Nebraska, and South Dakota are likely to see some pretty heavy snowfall. And as the system moves east, that snow will spread into Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and northern Michigan. At the same time, the rain is going to be a big story too. The upper Midwest and Ohio Valley are set to get soaked with heavy rain and gusty winds. Indiana and Illinois are likely to see mostly rain, but it could come down hard at times. Flooding is a real concern here, especially along the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. The ground is already saturated in many areas, and with more rain on the way, we'll need to keep a close watch on rising water levels. As the storm keeps pushing east, the heavy rain will move into Pennsylvania, New York, and New England, while the snow shifts into Wisconsin, upper Michigan, and southern Canada. And let's not forget, the strength of this storm is unusual. A 908.5 millibar low pressure system, like this is something we usually see in the dead of winter, not early March. That's a big part of why this storm is packing such a punch. And if you somehow miss out on the rain and snow, you're definitely going to feel the wind. Parts of New Mexico could see 40 to 50 mph gusts on Monday, and those dry winds will elevate the wildfire risk. Even today with the Clipper system, we're already seeing elevated fire weather conditions thanks to gusty winds across the Midwest. Now, let's fast forward to next week because that's where things really get serious. The Storm Prediction Center is already confident in a major severe weather outbreak across the Mississippi Valley on Tuesday, March 4th. They've issued a 30 risk area, which is a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for cities like Memphis, Little Rock, Shreveport, and Jackson, Mississippi. And the 15 risk area stretches even farther all the way up into southern Illinois, central Missouri, and parts of Kentucky. This is a huge area we'll need to keep a very close eye on. And it doesn't stop there. On Wednesday, March 5th, the severe weather threat shifts east. Areas from the Delmarva Peninsula down into the Carolinas, Georgia, and northern Florida are in play. We're talking the potential for tornadoes. Yeah. And some could be strong along with damaging winds and large hail. So what's causing all this? It's all about the clash of air masses. A deep trough is diving into the west, bringing cooler air into California, Nevada, and Arizona. Out ahead of it, we've got a ridge of warm air, and where those two collide, that's where things get dangerous. As this trough moves east and becomes negatively tilted, which is a key signal for big storms, it's going to set the stage for some very significant weather. By Monday, March 3rd, we'll start to see the first signs of this system. Snow will fall in the Rockies and the Sierras while heavy rain moves into parts of California. By Tuesday morning, 2 low-pressure systems develop, one near Wisconsin and a stronger low over western Kansas. This setup brings heavy rain, severe thunderstorms, and even blizzard conditions on the backside across the Midwest. Just severe weather on Tuesday, the dew point surge into the 50s and 60s as far north as southern Iowa. And that's a big signal for storm fuel. Even though it's early in the season, we won't need a ton of instability to get severe storms going. Combine that with an extremely strong low-level jet. We're talking wind speeds over 85 knots, and we've got everything in place for fast-moving, dangerous storms. Tuesday afternoon and evening, we'll likely see a squall line race across Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and western Tennessee. These storms could bring strong tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail. And if we get discrete supercells ahead of the main line, that's where the greatest tornado threat will be. By Wednesday, March 5th, the severe threat shifts east with the potential for scattered severe storms along the eastern seaboard. Places like Myrtle Beach, Savannah, Jacksonville, and Orlando will need to stay weather aware. But this system is massive. And it's not just about the severe weather. We're also looking at heavy snow and blizzard-like conditions in the Midwest. Parts of Wisconsin, the up of Michigan, eastern Iowa, and northern Missouri could see over an inch of snow per hour, along with gusty winds over 40 MF. And believe it or not, this isn't the end of the story. As we head into the second week of March, another major storm system takes shape. This one could be even warmer and more widespread, bringing the severe weather threat even farther north into cities like Chicago, Kansas City, Detroit, and Indianapolis. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family, especially those in areas threatened by severe weather. The more people who stay informed, the safer we'll all be. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next update.